again, everybody. Lance Russell and Dave Brown right along ringside. By golly, we're about ready to go with more big action.
Thank you very much, and welcome to Georgia Championship Wrestling. I'm Gordon Soler, your host, and we have quite an hour in store for us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Championship Wrestling at ringside. This is Vince McMahon, along with wrestling's only living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
Welcome to this week's edition of Mid-South Wrestling Television. I'm your host, Boyd Pierce, another outstanding card.
Hey, guys, and welcome back to the Regional Rasslin Podcast, where we talk the territories. I am Ray Russell, and this is Memphis 1985. Now, it's been about a month since we covered Memphis 85. We did a couple back-to-back episodes, and since that time, a lot's been going on in the world of our co-host here, and we're going to talk to him all about that later in this episode. But in order to do that, we got to bring him back onto the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Mr. Gene Jackson.
Man, it feels like it's been forever since we have revisited 1985 in Memphis, Ray. It's good to be back. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, man, always. We did back-to-back episodes last time we pulled out the old 85 file, but it's been about a month, so it's definitely due time to get back into things before everyone forgets about 85. They got to remember all the great stuff, well, all the stuff going on right now here that we've been covering as of late. Unfortunately, Dr. D. David Schultz is no more. Of course, he comes out there with a giant swastika on his shirt and quotes that Jerry Lawler has the AIDS, boy. And no more Dr. D, but I have it on good authority that maybe somebody's going to take his place this week.
Well, that will be interesting to see. And I was going to say there, for when you said all the great stuff for 1985, somebody just paused the show and was scrolling back through and go, oh, shit, I missed that. Where was the good stuff?
Yeah,
where was the great stuff? I missed that episode.
Episode number what? Oh, that's on the Patreon, guys. Oh, man. Well, you know how we always kick it off, Gene. We're going to go do a recap of last week in the Memphis territory. And this time last week in 1985, Jerry Oski was the brand new Southern Heavyweight Champion. A couple days later, not so much.
Yeah, he had a couple of days of glory, and I don't know, that may be as good as it gets for Jerry Oski in the wrestling business, beating the Macho Man and being Southern Heavyweight Champion, but hey, it's more than most people get, right?
Yeah, I have a feeling he would have held the belt longer than 6 days had his mom been from Memphis rather than Chattanooga. But as you said, Jerry Oski going to go on to do many more jobs for Randy Savage in the WWF in a lot quicker time.
Yeah. Jerry Allen never quite
Didn't catch on.
reached the heights of the Macho Man, unfortunately.
I feel like he was follically challenged in the hair department, and that really played a key factor. Only Hulk Hogan could walk around with the bald spot, dude.
Yeah, that's right, brother. We only got room for one follically challenged brother, dude.
Well, let's not forget the old charisma vacuum that is Jerry Oski as well. Mr. Personality of Memphis here. I don't know. I have to he gives Steve-O a run for his money, but at least, he's put together well. And that means with the title changing back, the Macho Man, once again, the Southern Heavyweight Champion. And it happened back last Monday night, Mid-South Coliseum. Jerry Oski arm dragged the referee. You heard me right, guys. He didn't shove him. He didn't punch him. He didn't hit him with the back elbow. No, he arm dragged the referee across the ring, allowing Savage to see the opening and use Tux Newman's cane, blasting Jerry Oski, stealing the title back. Randy Savage, once again, your Southern champ.
Yeah, the old arm drag in the referee spot.
That's it.
Ray, what a classic.
Me and Dan cover so much old Japanese footage, and we say on every episode, man, you don't see that spot anymore. And I got to tell you, this is another one of those spots you just don't see anymore. The old arm drag in the referee. Somebody's got to bring that one back. Or maybe not.
Maybe not, but, you never know. The old Young Bucks may just pull that one out one of these days.
It's possible. And speaking of possible, surprise, surprise, as if anybody didn't see this coming, Bruiser Brody turned on the King last Monday night, now aligned with Kareem Muhammad. And last week we saw the duo issue a challenge to Jerry the King Lawler. The King's response was the return of one superstar Bill Dundee as his partner for a wild brawl at the Mid-South Coliseum. Now, guess again, if you thought everything was resolved, this is Memphis, brothers. Nothing resolved, but we did get a visit from the superstar. So Bill Dundee, even if just stopping through, good to see him back here in Memphis.
Man, it was. It just doesn't feel like Memphis when you go 5 months and you don't see any superstar Bill Dundee. And, here recently, we got a little drop in from the Universal Heartthrob. We've seen a little bit of Wildfire Tommy Rich. Now we see Superstar Bill Dundee. So even if it's brief, it still gives you that warm and fuzzy Memphis feeling.
Yeah, we even see Dutch Mantell pop up, and he didn't really want to be there, and he wasn't for very long either. But yeah, so it's a lot of the guys are coming through, even if just for a few weeks here and there. So it does make it feel a little more Memphis-y. And I'm determined to make that a word because it's got to be, right? So we also got a nifty 1980s montage last week, a little music montage. Tojo Yamamoto trying on hats. And we learned that he digs cowboy hats, Gene, but not so much baseball caps. Turned sideways anyway.
I'm sorry, I'm always going to be a sucker for Tojo Yamamoto in a cowboy hat, whether it's 85, 91, anytime Tojo's rocking a cowboy hat, I'm entertained. But I do want to circle back to something you just said a moment ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, if in modern times they were able to get the term Uzi over and put it on a T-shirt, perhaps at some point there will be a I'm not feeling too Memphis-y T-shirt over on the T-Public page.
Yeah, it's a verb, it's a noun, it's an adjective, it's whatever you want it to be, guys. So let's get it going. It could be the very first word in the dictionary that means just about anything you want it to. But we go back, and Tojo Yamamoto, you appreciate the cowboy hat worn by Tojo, and I can see why. But I got to tell you, watching Tojo with that sideways hat, I'm telling you, it would have been great if he came back and teamed up with Two Falk for sure. It would have been a tremendous tag team back in the 1990s, guys. Look it up. As we continue on, Billy Joe Travis named the newest addition to the PYTs. Now, you got the pretty, you got the young, but most importantly now, he got the thang, Gene. Travis now officially a member of the PYT.
Perhaps if Tojo joined the PYTs, we'd have the yang, but instead we've got the thang. Billy Travis... If you had told me before we got to that episode, you're like, Gene, look up and down the roster and tell me, who do you think could be the third PYT? I would have to say right maybe before Tracy Smothers, Billy Travis would have been the last guy I would have expected to be a PYT. It's almost like JT Smith being a full-blooded Italian.
Hey, there you go. Bop it a boopy, man. It's good stuff, though. Billy Travis getting a little rub here from the Memphis Bookers, Tom Ernesto and whomever, maybe Lawler. Somebody sees something they like in him. Coco going to put him over here on commentary later as well. A little spoiler ahead. But Mr. Wrestling, we watched him last week as well, unmasked to reveal, to no one's surprise, it was in fact Tommy Gilbert under the hood, who also made sure to return the mask to its rightful owner.
Yeah, Bruiser Brody turns, Tommy Gilbert's Mr. Wrestling. Boy, Ernesto is really not booking any surprises, is he?
No, he's batting 1,000 though, right? So we see, sometimes they say the best things are the things you see coming because they make the most sense. I don't know if that applies here in Memphis right now, but we'll have to wait and see. As we also said goodbye, we bid adieu to Steve Constance and Tim Ashley.
Oh, boy, Ray. Them boys to men were full of shit. Sometimes it's really not that hard to say goodbye to yesterday. And when that yesterday includes Constance and Ashley, good riddance.
Off they go to Mid-South Wrestling to work for the Cowboy for a cup of coffee, if that. Go look it up, guys. There's some shenanigans that go down there. And Bill Watts was not a fan, specifically, I believe, of Steve Constance, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that happened. And that's for another day in Regional Rasslin, I suppose. Yeah, wait till we get there. That'll be fun. And as we close out the last week in Memphis history deal, most importantly, in all the news what we broke in softball news, I'll have you know that Jerry Lawler's Army ranked number 1 in Memphis, beating out teams like Dunn's Transmission, Coca-Cola, and Big Knockers. Now, I don't know about Eugene, but I would say that Big Knockers is number 1.
In my heart, they are. It's going to be my favorite. But I'm glad that you saved the best for last. Yeah, we can talk about all this wrestling shit, but let's talk about what's important. Let's talk about Lawler's Army being number 1 in softball, because we all know that's what's nearest and dearest to Jerry Lawler's heart is softball, and Big Knockers at that. So it all ties together in the end.
Can't fault him for that. But yeah, Lawler's Army ranked number 1, and he told us so last week on the Jerry Lawler Show, because so many people have been calling and writing in wanting to know the top 10 teams in Memphis softball. And Jerry Lawler brought it to us last week. Go check out the last edition of the Memphis 85 Regional Rasslin. But right now we move on, guys, to the new week of TV here. May the 18th, going back another Saturday morning taping, live from the studio there, TV5 Studios to be exact, more Memphis Championship Wrestling. righty, so we get going pretty fast here this week. It's Lance and Dave right along ringside. Kareem Muhammad in the ring taking on Keith Eric. And lately they've been ringing the bell as soon as the intro ends, as soon as we hit the studio. But this week, we hear the bell ring during the intro video. I guess Kareem Muhammad going to pounce there as we cut away during the video straight to the ring. And we get things going only 32 seconds into the live feed. So talk about action-packed, guys. Kareem Muhammad commences to putting a beat down on poor Eric. As the mauling goes on, we catch a glimpse of a masked man in a black bodysuit standing ringside. Another large fellow apparently accompanied Kareem out there to the ring. Diving whale headbutt, sadly without a Shamu splash at the end, but it does get the win here. Kareem Muhammad going over 2 minutes and 31 seconds.
Kareem getting it done. He doesn't get paid by the hour. He comes in hot right as the show is opening. And, mystery man at ringside. Not that Kareem needed it, but now we get to ponder, who was that masked man, Ray?
Who was that masked man? Indeed, I have a feeling this is not the last time we're going to see him today on the program, although it's Memphis, so you truly never know. We'll have to wait and see.
We may never see him again.
That is right. He might be gone before the episode is over, guys, before the commercial break.
Either turn babyface or quit.
True that. As we continue on, we get a VTR interview from the fabulous ones, clearly coming to you from Jarrett's house. Man, they spent a lot of time there. A bare-chested Steve Kern with a 10-gallon hat, and Stan Lane with a styling cowboy hat and a pink unzipped jacket. Gotta love the 1980s, guys. People questioned nothing when it came to fashion.
No, they didn't. I'd really love to sit down with Kern or Lane or both and hey guys, let's check out some of those promos and especially some of those music videos you did, huh? And just kind of see their faces, because they got to kind of absolutely shudder when they see some of that stuff now. But it was the style at the time, and Lord knows the women flock to them, so you can't knock them for it, I guess.
No, I mean, you figure they got the ladies, and man, did they get paid, right? So I mean, I guess they can always look back at the fond memories and not so much the pink jacket and the cowboy hat. But that's okay, because they said they promised to be winners once again, and the proof is right here in front of them. Once again, the Southern Tag Team Champions are the Fabs. Kern promising that there will be a winner in every match they have every time out. Now, I wouldn't go that far here in Memphis, Steve, but he said it, but they say a lot of things here. Stan Lane says it's more fun being the champs than it is the challengers, but it's really about the people who plop down their hard-earned cash to watch them compete. The Fabs doing it for themselves, but more importantly, doing it for you guys out there, the fans. How corny was this?
Very, very corny, but hey, they got to put over the people who, I'm sure those guys probably, before it was all said and done, paid for houses with picture money,
Sure.
just from gimmick table picture money. I heard that, they were get handed just obscene amounts of money in envelopes at the end of the night. Just crazy.
And Stan Lane might have, been able to buy a house or two, a couple of boats maybe on just the Rats, bringing their husbands' fortunes over and just handed it over to Stan to sleep with them.
Yeah.
Stories I've heard anyway. But that's neither here nor there now, I suppose. But yeah, just going back and just listening to them, they didn't have to do this in their first. If they just had never left, they wouldn't have to sit here and try to come up with every ploy they could to win the fans back. Hey, you guys, we're doing it for you. You spend the money, and we appreciate you. And as you're right, they should, because they bought their houses and then some. But we'll continue on. We'll see what happens here with the Fabs as they took the belts from the upcoming team to the ring, the PYT Express. It's actually going to be Norvell Austin and Billy Travis in the ring, Tux Newman and Coco Ware out on the floor, and the opponents of the PYTs this week, David Haskins and David Johnson. David squared in there, and we know one of them's David because it's on his ass.
Yeah, he reminds you at every moment of the match that, he is David, because it's plastered right across his keister there. And, of course, David Haskins, we have seen him from the very beginning. In 1985, he started his career, and we've seen every bit of it so far here unfold on 1985 Memphis TV.
And wouldn't it have been great if Haskins turned on Johnson here and said, "I'm David," and took his trunks? No, I don't know if that would have been for crying out loud, not on live TV.
Come on, Haskins.
Now you got David's Johnson out there in the live studio audience.
That's not very Memphis-y, David. Well, actually, it is. Never mind.
That's right. So we continue. Coco Beware going to join commentary, claiming he's still injured. His still injured arm here, Coco. So they got Billy Travis out there in his place. David Johnson doesn't fare too well in the ring, takes a dangerous bump on a basic body slam. Haskins going to tag in, who Coco Ware dubs the Great White Hope. David Haskins here for this matchup. Coco also says that David Johnson shouldn't be in wrestling. He should be out there cotton picking or something. Oh, man. Coco on a roll. He continues on. He says, Billy Travis, the new white meat of the PYT. Of course, they are the dark meat, I would imagine.
That one got me. I'm not going to lie. That one popped me watching the show. And all I can say, as far as that other comment about the cotton, at least Coco said it and not Tux this time.
I got to tell you, man, Coco Ware, they've been giving him a mic as of late, and he's been impressive. Yeah, I don't think he gives a shit a whole lot, but he's still impressive with what he's doing out here with it.
A lot of the things he said in later years, like in 93 at different times, I just thought, well, hell, this is just old, cynical Coco. Like you said, he just don't give a damn anymore. But this is 85. He's still getting started. Yeah. So I guess Coco just didn't give a shit at any point in his career. He's going to say what he wants to say.
On the mic or in the ring, right? I mean, we've seen.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he wanted to keep that job for Vince, so he maybe didn't take so many liberties there, at least from what we see. But a few weeks ago, David Haskins versus Billy Travis would have been on even ground in the ring one-on-one, but not so much anymore. Billy Travis dominating Haskins here, looking like a level above. And of course, Norvell Austin doing the same. Haskins missing a corner charge on Norvell, and the PYT remain in control. Drop kick from Austin, and then Travis in with a middle rope knee drop, but he's pretty far, 3/4 of the way across the ring. Very impressive. I didn't see it coming. I said, okay, let's see what he does with this. But Billy Travis makes the leap from the middle rope, 3/4 of the way across the studio ring, lands on top of Haskins, which Coco Beware then compares Travis to Bobby Eaton. And he didn't say it to mock him or to be funny. He said it in a very complimentary way. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Absolutely. And, Coco had been Bobby's partner there, so he knew what he was talking about. But yeah, man, I was the same way. When Billy jumped and was leading with the knee, I thought there's no way he's going to get all the way over to the knee drop, but he pulled it off.
I guess we forget how good these guys were in their prime, especially when Billy's very young, to where he's not necessarily understanding what a heel should and shouldn't be doing. Heels probably shouldn't be, well, tell that to Randy Savage, leaping across the ring like that. But it's cool to see some of the stuff that Billy was able to do back here in the 1980s. As Haskins going to battle his way out of the heel corner. In comes David Johnson back in the ring, but it's a power slam by Norvell Austin. Travis in with a backbreaker, setting poor Johnson up for that pump splash out of the corner, the Vader bomb, if you will. Going to give the PYTs the win, 6 minutes and 4 seconds. And one thing's for sure, guys, both of these job guys happy that Coco sat this one out.
Man, you ain't kidding. Both of their necks are better off for it, that's for sure.
Whew, 6 minutes with Coco? No, thank you. So the PYTs go over. We heard from the Fabulous Ones, the two teams feuding, and now we're going to hear from the other side. Tux Newman joining with his PYT to talk a little bit about losing the titles to the Fabs here. With Lance Russell here at the studio desk, Tux noticeably looking different. I couldn't quite put my finger on it for a moment, but as he turned to the side, I realized that Newman no longer rocking that bleach blonde look, but rather some salt and pepper hair now, going gray. Is Tux Newman. I guess those Memphis payoffs finally catching up to him, getting smaller every week. Tux had to decide between eating dinner or a bottle of peroxide.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely very, very noticeable. But yeah, man, you got to eat. So I don't blame him. Anybody that's ever seen a picture of me knows that's the choice I would make.
You don't have to worry so much about bleaching the hair either, so you're okay. True. Man. True. Well, I'm right with you, dude, so don't feel bad. It took 5 men, says Tux Newman, to defeat his PYTs for the belts. The Fabs, of course, and at ringside in their corner was Tojo, Jerry Jarrett, and even the referee, Tux says, was in on it. All 5 men to beat the PYT for the Southern Tag Team titles this past Monday. But the Fabs, they had many shots. They couldn't beat them up until then, so they fixed it in order to have some help. Tux claiming the PYTs will be back for their titles and the Fabs. But first, it's time for a little payback. The PYTs gunning Jerry Jarrett and that Chinaman, Tojo Yamamoto, which the name alone is most definitely Japanese, but I get a kick out of the fact that Tux always refers to Tojo as a Chinaman.
That he does. And it's ironic that, we just got that speech on a recent episode from Ernesto about how he was cracking down. There wasn't going to be any more interference, and especially in title matches. And then, of course, they're out here telling us how half the roster in the arena interfered and cost them the belt. So again, Ernesto's not delivering, man. And it's kind of crazy, just to kind of sidetrack for a moment here.
Sure.
Because we had a lot of fun with that promo from Ernesto where he said there wasn't going to be many more interference, and they took a poll across the entire nation, and what wrestling fans wanted in 1985 was 2 out of 3 falls matches, and in the very next match, we had the first fall had interference, and it just plagued the rest of the show. Well, in the recent episode of 1993 that we covered, Eddie Marlin almost channeled that exact promo. He comes out and he strips Crush of the USWA title due to flagrant interference, and he says there's too much interference in the USWA, and he's clamping down on it, and we're about to put a stop to it, especially in title matches. So I told the guys, well, if this is anything like how we saw it go in 85, that's not going to happen. So we'll see how it plays out there. We're seeing how it plays out here.
I wouldn't get my hopes up. Let's just put it that way, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm glad a lot of things Ernesto promised didn't come to fruition, like the whole, there's going to be way more 2 out of 3 fall matches. I think we saw one in Nashville, of all places, probably to play off the TV whenever it aired there. But outside of that, I don't know that we really got any other 2 out of 3s, so I'm happy with that. But also, again, he promised no more disqualifications in these matches, and well, we'll just continue on. I'm sure we'll run into one sooner or later here. So we heard from the Fabs. We saw the PYTs. We heard from them. And, of course, now they're gunning for Tojo and Jerry Jarrett. So we go back to the ring for singles action. Big Lou Winston standing in there to take on the Chinaman, if you will, Tojo Yamamoto. Winston going to jump Tojo from behind, but Yamamoto going to town with the judo chops all over Winston's face. Tojo kicking Lou's leg out of his leg at one point. Whipping to the ropes for the big chop. Going to end this thing in 1 minute and 7 seconds. I guess Jerry Jarrett doesn't do TV matches.
I guess not, but I don't know if this is like Lou Winston's new gimmick now, because this was like complete replication of his match with Lawler. He jumped him at the bell, and then he ends up getting beat in no time, and we did the exact same thing again here with Tojo. So I don't know if it's a matter of going with what works, or that's going to be like, hey, we're going to do this deal where you jump people to the bell, then you freaking lose in a minute.
Well, I was going to say Lou's not getting paid by the hour, but this being Memphis TV, Lou probably wasn't getting paid at all. So
exactly. Of course, Tojo wasn't exactly going to go in there and put in any time either. So not surprising with Tojo, but the fact that we just saw it with Lawler last week is what made it a little more noticeable to me.
Absolutely. And it sticks out here. You can't get an easier match than working a 1 minute bout against Tojo throwing these chops. Of course, you got to lay down for it at the end of the day, but it is what it is. So we see Tojo go over here on TV, and then we hear, Jerry Jarrett is in studio because, he runs the promotion after all. We hear from Jarrett and Tojo here. They've got the PYT this Monday night at the Coliseum. Jarrett feels fortunate that he's still alive after the last couple of weeks of being back in the ring, says it's been a little rougher than he expected. But then, in the calmest of tones ever, Jarrett looking for payback, going to pay back some debt, looking for revenge. After being handcuffed and whipped in Jackson, Tennessee a few weeks ago by the PYT, Jerry Jarrett coming back. We talked about this recently with Constance and Ashley also wanting payback on the PYT, and they just kind of looked into the camera and said, man, I can't wait to get you in the ring and kick your butt. And that's kind of what we got here from Jerry Jarrett. So I wrote in my notes, can anyone out there who grew up in the 1970s in Memphis, can you guys please confirm that at some point Jerry Jarrett had some sort of personality or fire as a babyface? Because I don't see how this guy drew if this is how he talked.
I can remember Sammy Hall telling us, back in the day that, because he was getting on guys, and because this was around 97 and nobody was selling because everybody was trying to be, stone cold and everything. And he's like, guys, in this, in the South, you get over selling. And he gave the example of Jerry Jarrett. He said, Jerry Jarrett would sell, and in the ring, he would look like he was, crying. He'd be sweating, and it looked like he was crying. People felt terrible for him, and then finally he would, he'd make that comeback. And he'd go, but that's how he got over was, selling and almost crying in the ring. And he never said anything about fiery comebacks or fiery promos. So I don't know. Jerry's whole bit may have just been that he was a low-key pussy or something. I don't know, but it worked for him. But I'm seeing no evidence. And I'm like you. If anybody can send us a really fired up Jarrett promo. I'd love to see it because, quite honestly, based on what we're seeing and what I've seen in the past, I can't even picture it. I can't even hear in my head what that would sound like.
Yeah, it's crazy. You go back, we saw the video footage. They aired it here on TV a week or two ago. He's getting whipped in the ring by Tux. He's getting whipped by the PYT, Billy Travis. They got the straps, beating Jarrett down. I think it was his first night back in the business as far as a wrestler goes. And he's out here cutting a promo. He's got the matchup coming this Monday, revenge on his mind. And his sell job here was just, I don't know why I would have any interest in the matchup, but I guess, it's just another match on the card right now. They got some storyline behind it, and fans do remember the team of Tojo and Jerry, so I'm sure a lot of longtime wrestling fans are looking forward to it. I wish he would have put a little more oomph into it, especially after Tojo just did all the wrestling, if you want to call it that.
As best I can remember, you fast forward a year later, and Buddy Landell and Bill Dundee, tried to fish hook his good eye and then tried to murder his son on TV, and he's just like, y'all, I got one good eye, and y'all tried to take that out, and you tried to injure my son, and Jerry Lawler's going to come back for revenge, and we're going to run you guys out of town. So
then we'll all go to church, and then we'll have some fried chicken afterwards.
Then I'm going to pray for you, and my Chinaman friend over here is going to chop the shit out of you.
With a cowboy.
I'll come down there Monday night if you got time. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like NPR of wrestling promos.
Yeah, that goes in line with what we've been seeing here with Jarrett so far. We go back to the ring, another Jerry out here. This time the King, Jerry Lawler, coming to town to take on the Assassin. And based on that robe, I'm going to assess this Assassin is Tom Ernesto Jr., a.k.a. referee Tom Branch in recent weeks here on TV, who also worked as the Assassin in early 80s Los Angeles. Been covering that with Vandal Drummond, so he gets to visit his yesteryear when he was actually over for a little bit there as John Tolis' sidekick in the early 80s for the LaBelle territory, and he's back out here. Let's see how well he does as he attacks Lawler, backs him up into the ropes, and slaps the King. Crisscross spot leads to a Lawler backdrop, who is not fucking around this week. Middle rope fist drop follows, and Jerry Lawler scores the win in just 1 minute and 3 seconds because we probably got a softball game to get to.
Yeah, exactly. I listened to that episode with you and Vandal, and then I rewatched this one, and then the Assassin pops up, and I go, hey, I bet I know who that is. It didn't occur to me the first time I watched it. When I rewatched it, and I just heard you guys talking, I was like, oh, that's who that is. Good call.
I would have probably never put two and two together because Memphis has had so many Assassins, but that robe is the same robe he wore Ernesto Jr. anywhere he went. I mean, he only had one robe, I would have to imagine, and that was it. And I remember seeing him do a lot of jobs for Bill Watts wearing that robe while he was being announced. So that's the only reason I put two and two together. And it all made sense then. After talking with Vandal, I go, oh shit, okay, now all the stars aligned, and boom, I had an epiphany, if you will. But Jerry Lawler scoring a very quick win, as Dave Brown states, the mortal here, don't slap the King. To which Lance Russell replies,
oh, he nailed him right in the head.
That was the replay, the instant replay. Oh, what a windup. Wham! He nailed him right in the head. Jerry Lawler with the fist drop. You don't slap the King.
No, you definitely do not. He is not going to put up with that kind of crap from anybody, not even the Booker's son.
That's right, because Lawler's a promoter. So, yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
He outranks you.
Oh, we continue on. Music video. Bruiser Brody set to AC/DC's Problem Child. Then we hear a VTR from Brody, who says, guess who? He's back again. Brody says he's found the end. It's for the King. Nobody to hide behind this week, Jerry Lawler. It's going to be one-on-one. No more Bill Dundee. No Andre the Giant. It's Brody versus the King. Bruiser admitting he was fined $1,000 for mauling the referee last time out, but that's fine, as he holds up a wad of cash, implying that he doesn't mind paying a fine. And this week, he's fine with paying up this fine again if need be, because he's getting it all back when he beats Jerry Lawler. Says the King should have been a used car salesman, Gene, for as many fans as he's fooled, that he's such a tough guy. He says Lawler may knock him down, but Brody going to get right back up, and he's going to knock Lawler's face all over the Coliseum.
You know, even though it aired after the match, I felt like when I watched this, that Lawler saw this promo before they were going to run it, and that's why things went the way they did in the match, where Assassin slaps him, and then he immediately fires back. It was kind of in response to this promo before it even happens. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But
well,
that's what it felt like.
it's Lawler's match coming up, so I have no doubt that I'm going to see what this guy said before I go out here, so I know what I can say back,
sure.
right? Yeah. So he knew. Yeah, I would say Lawler was definitely strategically playing this one out, and a good call there as far as the match goes. And Jerry going to respond. He's going to be here in the studio. Obviously, we just saw him in the ring, and now he's out here talking with Lance. The King wishes he had $1 for every time someone promised to make him an ex-king. We get some of the Lawler jokes at that point, guys, about how ugly Brody is. He didn't read him off of a sheet this week, at least. He was doing that in 77. The King says he's not scared. Ain't nobody knocked him off his throne yet. And we'll find out Monday night who the king of pro wrestling really is, as Lawler shills the match just like this. He says, no referee, no disqualification, no rules, anything goes. Remember that, Gene.
I am locking that away in the back of my mind right now. And wouldn't he be trading down if he only got $1 for everybody who come in and promised to make him an ex-king? I think he made thousands of dollars off all the people who came to town and promised to make him an ex-king.
Yeah, I would have to imagine so. The King, Jerry Lawler, going to take on Bruiser Brody for the first time. It's one-on-one. We've seen the tag team deal. We saw the Brody turn, and now for the first time, it's the King and the Bruiser this Monday night, as Lance Russell going to run down the Mid-South Coliseum card. Tommy Gilbert taking on Speedy Talltree in the opener. Also on the card, it was to be Mark and Jay Youngblood, but Mark Youngblood has decided he doesn't want to come to Memphis after all. So it's going to be Jay Youngblood, who simply can't get work anywhere else at this point. Jay teaming with Johnny Wilhoit to take on J.R. Hogg and Lanny Poffo. The Fabulous Ones taking on, well, we saw them out here earlier, Kareem Muhammad and that mystery man who still has yet to be named. Southern champion Randy Savage taking on Jerry Oski in a return match. PYT is going 2-on-2 against Jerry Jarrett and that Chidaman, Tojo. Also, as we just heard, Jerry Lawler and Bruiser Brody, no referee in the ring. So referee there ringside, I guess, to count of 3. But Lawler claims no rules, anything goes, no DQ. We'll have to wait and see about that. But kind of an interesting matchup there. No referee in the ring.
Yeah, that's very unique. And what a position to put yourself in as the owner in a match with Bruiser Brody and no referee in the ring to save you. And man, that Johnny Wilhoit and Jay Youngblood against J.R. Hogg and Lanny Poffo match feels like a lethal lottery match that was drawn out of a hat. Like such two random. I've never heard of two more random teams in my life.
Yeah, I think it was a way to push the Youngbloods, and Mark Youngblood at the last moment clearly pulled out. I didn't look to see where he went instead, but it wasn't here. That's pretty much Jay Youngblood left alone. His brother has abandoned him, so we'll see how long Jay sticks around and what he does here, which I don't remember him doing much, but I do remember him on TV, so that should be popping up any time now in the upcoming weeks. But we continue on. We hear from Kareem Muhammad up next, who brings out that mystery man from earlier today, the mystery partner for the big tag team title match against the Fabulous Ones, the masked man of a Caucasian persuasion, it would appear, who is pretty equal in size, maybe even a little rounder than Ray Candy, if that's possible.
Yeah, that's tough to do, but I think he may be pulling it off. And I don't know. I really want to hear you say Caucasian persuasion as Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh, doing it in the Caucasian persuasion. Like that right there. Get done. Mm-hmm. So come Monday night, Kareem Muhammad says the Fabulous Ones, they might be cute, but they won't be champs. So I got to ask you, Gene, how likely are the titles to change hands when they won't even give Kareem's partner a fucking name? He's just the mystery partner. He's fucking standing there and still being referred to as my mystery partner.
Well, to quote the late, great Gorilla Monsoon, highly unlikely, Jess.
Highly unlikely they're going to get the belts unless they lock the fingers. It's, as long as you lock the fingers, there's always a chance.
Lock the fingers or hook the leg, then they've got a chance at least. Exactly. Oh, man. So Kareem Muhammad and bringing this guy to town. Now, any guesses who this guy is, Gene? Honestly, don't. I really don't know who that would be based on the size and everything, unless it ends up being his future partner. What's that guy's name?
Grizzly Boom, dude?
Yeah, that dude, but I don't think he's quite that big.
No, I think Grizzly might have been bigger, but I don't think that's him. But Well, we'll wait till we get to the Coliseum. I have some notes there. I don't think that if that is who in fact portrayed him at the Coliseum was the guy that was here on TV, but I need your expertise in that when we get there. Right now we're going to roll on with TV. Southern champion Randy Savage out here taking on Tracy Smothers. A little scary as I look here in the results. Only halfway through the show, 45 minutes into the show, and only 2 matches remain. But at least this is one of them. Macho Man running into a scoop slam early on. Smothers going to ground him with a side headlock. Savage escapes, takes over, but he's going to powder to regroup on the outside. Tracy Smothers coming at him here this week. And regroup he does. Savage returning to the ring with a sit-out clothesline and pitching Tracy out to the floor, tossing him into the studio wall, and a suplex down on the outside. My God, poor Tracy Smothers. Back in the ring, it's the diving elbow from Mach, but the referee takes forever to get down and make the count, so I think Macho caused an audible here, and lets Tracy up at the 2 count. So Smothers again, tossed back outside. I bet he's not digging the referee right now. Savage, double axe handle back to the floor a second time, and then back in the ring again off the top with a standing elbow this time. Gonna net Savage a win, 4 minutes and 8 seconds.
I just picture Tracy back there slapping his arms going, hey man, what was that shit? What was that shit?
Referee took forever to cover, and Savage didn't want to expose anything, so he allows Tracy up from the flying elbow, which he would never do. But I mean, that's a good call for the time frame. Right? Like Randy has enough wherewithal to go, that's just ridiculous. I want my match to look good. Go figure, Randy Savage. So yes, he picked Tracy up and let's just do it all over. Let's do it all over again, brother. And Tracy's like, well, I don't. All right, here we go. And so Tracy really didn't have much of a say there.
Hey man, you suplexed me on the floor, dude. What?
You threw me into a wooden wall. Fucking poor. Nobody does it like a thug. R.I.P. Tracy, but R.I.P. Randy. That was, looking at that on paper, it sounded like it would be fun. Unfortunately, it was at Tracy's expense, but it was okay for what it was. As we hear from the Macho Man and manager Tux Newman, Newman says that Macho, he regained the Southern title back scientifically, and there's nobody that can take it. Tux and Savage welcome the rematch with Jerry Oski this Monday night. Savage asking Oski to try and take it, So Macho Man back in his winning ways, back with the gold around his waist. He doesn't have that golden fire log holder or whatever the fuck that was anyway. I wish he still had that. That would have been great. But still, once again, the champion is Randy Savage, and Jerry Oski somehow getting rematches still. So he's got that going for him.
Yeah, he does have that going for him. And, upon running it back through my mind, I do have a theory on who that partner may be for Kareem Muhammad.
Very good.
But I'll hold on to it for right now. We'll see.
We'll be getting to the Coliseum, absolutely. So before the next match, which is our final match of the television program, lots of time left on the clock. Keep that in mind. We go off to Lance once again, speaking with the would-be challenger, or the would-be champion, the former champion now, Jerry Oski, who says he will make no excuses. He's not going to cry. People saw what happened. People know. Of course, implying that Randy Savage cheated. We saw the video footage last week. Oski, though, happy with the rematch this week, says he felt the rewards of winning the title, and he's coming for it once more. Tux Newman called him puny. Of course, Jerry at that point going to take off the jacket, flex those roid muscles, to no reaction. Not a single woo from the ladies in the studio. I wrote, yikes. I've heard job guys on TBS get more of a response.
Yeah, that was bizarre. I felt bad for I mean, this is 2025. This was 85, and I still felt bad for the dude at that moment. I was like, "Geez, give him something." I mean, he shot a lot of roids in his ass to get that body. Come on.
I was gonna say, you would think, looking like he does, that was gonna get 2 or 3 pops, right, from the chicks in the crowd. I mean, just
at least whatever. A couple of gay dudes or something.
Yeah. Lanny Poffo could have came out and applauded. I don't know. Speaking of. We'll get to that in a moment. So,
hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews. Sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com. And to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to uswapodcast.com.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Rasslin podcast, where we talk the territories. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. But that's not all. You can also check out the Pro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Pro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. And of course, now would be a fantastic time to become a WrestleCopia patron over at patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That address again, patreon.com/WrestleCopia, where you get so many gifts, including all of my insanely detailed show notes for every episode of The Grenade Show, Regional Rasslin, and the Monday Warfare podcast. You'll also get early access to a lot of the podcasts here on the WrestleCopia brand, where you can listen days and sometimes as much as a week earlier than the rest of the listeners. But that's still not all, guys. You also get at least a dozen digital downloads for your viewing and reading pleasure each and every month, plus random bonus video drops, and of course, the Patreon exclusive Watch Along series covering many past WWF and WCW events. And if that's not all, videocasts, also now a part of Patreon. No subscription, cancel anytime. Give it a try for a month, guys. I think you'll like the content that I offer, and every penny of it goes right back here into paying the bills. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia. Help me pay some of the bills to keep the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and all of the great shows here up and running for the months and the years to come.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
Jerry Oski, of course, has Randy Savage Monday night, but unfortunately, he has his brother Lanny Poffo here today in the studio, and that's what we get. Expiration of time, unfortunately. Jerry Oski taking on Lanny Poffo, and it begins. So Poffo hops into the ring rocking his old Bumblebee trunks from the 1970s for the first time here, I believe, in 1985. So he had built-in Killer Bee tights, but he was never an honorary Killer Bee, at least to my knowledge. So you have to wonder, do you think he walked in the WWF and said, I could be a Killer Bee? And Vince was like, that's a great idea, pal. I'll give it to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, you could have had Jumping Jim and Leaping Lanny, and it almost would have worked. But,
almost.
You know, had to do something with a Brian Blair, that's your brony.
Motherfuck, piece of shit, motherfuck, Brian Blair, fuck, duh. Break your back, make a humble bitch.
I mean, can you imagine Brian Blair out there siding podiums and throwing frisbees, and Lanny's the other Killer Bee? It is a completely weird, bizarro universe out there somewhere where that's taking place.
Yeah, somehow even Brian Blair flapping those wings is better to me than Lanny Poffo, a Killer Bee. But for what it's worth, in a matter of weeks to months, both of these guys, Poffo and Oski, they will both be doing jobs for the World Wrestling Federation. So in the grand scheme of things, it really really doesn't matter a whole lot, as we see lots of grabbing holds by Oski, Lanny finding ways to the ropes every time. Now, not as exciting as it sounds, guys. Not exactly all Japan style fighting for your life here. Lots of awkward positioning, lots of rolling around. My God, it's like a gay porn. Crowd clearly doesn't give a shit. Not making a fucking noise during this match. There's like 5 people going, yeah. So what do? They do a fucking try and tackle me spot more than 6 minutes into the match. Hey, you hit the ropes and try to knock me down, Gene. And Lanny going to take a funny bump through the ropes to the floor, likely out of desperation to wake the fans up. But guess what, guys? It doesn't work. It's embarrassing. This entire segment's embarrassing.
It's funny you said that, because as I was watching this match, I could suddenly hear that old theme song from Saturday Night Live in my head, the ambiguously gay duo. Because, I mean, it just felt, oh my gosh, it did. It felt like gay porn on a live Memphis television in 1985.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but...
Oh, no, I mean, if that's what you're into, go for it. But I don't think wrestling fans early on Saturday morning watching wrestling with their kids, this is what they had in mind.
Oh, Scooby-Doo's off. Time to watch some Memphis Rat. What is going on here?
Hey, turn that off. What are you watching?
I thought you were watching wrestling.
All right.
Well, guys, so we're like halfway through the match. Yes, I said only halfway. Lanny Poffo, springboard sunset flip. Going to get a 2 count, and back to more rolling around in awkward pinfall attempts. I wrote, woof. Now, I want to be clear, guys. These are not normal wrestling pinfall maneuvers. Just kind of rolling around, creating things as they go in trunks. Very weird. Lanny's probably making those Terry Funk faces. I don't know. It's like you'd have to watch our Coliseum videocast to get that joke, but just a lot going on here and nothing going on at the same time. As I noticed, poor Dave Brown has been doing solo commentary for this entire match as he informs us that 8 minutes are now gone. 8 of the longest minutes you guys will ever see. Jerry Oski with a delayed gorilla press slam, and Lanny going to powder out to the floor as Lance Russell finally returns to God. Hell, Davey, I was hoping this would be over by the time I got done taking a shit.
Still going, Davey?
I took extra long time wiping my ass, and this is still going on here.
I smoked another cigarette.
That's it. So Lance Russell going to rejoin. Must have felt bad for Dave. Somebody said, just go out there and help Dave, man. Nobody should have to go through this alone.
He's drowning, Lance. Go help him.
So Lanny Poffo in and out of the ring, gingerly backflips over the top rope back inside. Of course he does. Lanny out sending Oski to the floor, drop kicking Jerry off the apron down to the studio floor. Oski retaliates, driving Lanny's leg into the steel post when he gets back inside. And then Poffo going back up to the top rope. Of course, a little gimpy now, but misses a somersault senton. Oski going to make a cover. Gets a 1 count. A 1 count, mind you. Lanny with a roll-up also going to trade for another 1 count. So we are more than 10 minutes into this match, and we're now trading 1 counts. I wrote, fuck me.
Oh, my God. This made me miss the old Batten Twins expiration of time matches. I was like, give me the Batten Twins and the Terminators over this shit. What are we doing?
At least they stomp a mud hole in them and walk it dry with the Battens. I mean, you just know they're going to get their asses handed to them for like 10 minutes, but this was not that. And finally, we see one cool move in the entire match. Lanny Poffo on the mat does a little back roll deal where he puts his legs up into the air, catches Jerry Oski with a forward rolling head scissors, and he's finally going to get a 2 count. Hey, how about that? Oski responds with the old Tony Gurria abdominal stretch of doom. And after all of that, Randy Savage attacks. Where the fuck you been, Randy Savage? I thought the crowd was dead because we hadn't heard a noise in about almost 15 minutes, but nope, they just didn't care because they immediately wake up for the Macho Man's appearance. Top rope, double axe handle into the ring, right into the back of Jerry Oski, going to draw a what? A disqualification, which we're not supposed to have anymore. I thought those were banned, but apparently not. So Jerry Oski getting a DQ victory. This fucking match goes 14 minutes and 14 seconds.
We weren't going to have any more interference. We weren't going to have any more disqualifications. So our main event today ends in an interference disqualification.
That's it.
Randy Savage, this should have been considered a freaking babyface turn for him to come out and end this freaking match. Jesus Christ. I mean, what a rib for that match to go on for 14 minutes and then just to end with Savage running in like that. I don't know if that was the planned finish or if Jerry Jarrett was finally just like, hey, Randy, for the love of fuck, will you go out there and run in there? This is awful.
I don't know who made the call. I have to admit, well, I just wrote longest fucking match on TV this year, which is true. And why? Why this match go 14 minutes? I have no idea. I get because I guess they had to kill time. It was the only match left on the show, but it meant nothing by that point and no urgency for it either. I mean, to go that lengthy period of time and then do the run-in. If you like, Jerry Oski's going into a title match. He's the former champion on Monday night and he can't beat fucking Lanny Poffo on TV.
Exactly. That was my thoughts exactly, watching every minute of this match. That and thinking, I think I'd rather seen Tojo and Big Lou Winston go this long rather than what we're actually seeing from Poffo and Oski. Good God.
It was not pretty. It was not good. In fact, I'm sure there have been some other stinkers, but none of them went this long. So, well, there's some eliminator matches or whatever those guys were, Terminator matches or whatever, but this is the worst match on TV that I recall in quite a while.
But at least the Terminators were unintentionally entertaining. There was nothing entertaining about it. There was no redeeming qualities of this at all, other than sending the message that you pointed out. Hey, this dipshit can't even beat Lanny Poffo. There's no chance in hell he's beating Randy Savage Monday night. But hey, come buy a ticket anyway, please.
Yeah, and having Randy do the run-in, of course, to try to build some heat on the title match doesn't really help a whole lot. Now, had they went 2 minutes into the match, nobody really established anything, Randy came in to get some heat on him, that makes sense. I still wouldn't do it. I would have put Oski over Lanny either way, but at least in that context, it makes sense. They really just got started. Randy interfered. He's getting his heat for the title match on Monday. These guys he had 14 minutes to put Lanny Poffo down, and they were doing tackles 6 minutes into the match. So just kind of tells you where these guys
get a 2 count.
And Lanny knows better by this point in his career. I hope he would know better than some of the spots they were doing late in the match as they were, but I guess there was panic out there because the crowd just was not making a single noise.
Not only could he not beat Lanny Poffo, he couldn't get a freaking 2 count on Lanny Poffo after that amount of time.
Could you imagine waiting for your week to show up at the studio? All right, I finally get to go watch some Memphis wrestling. And you go in there and you sit down and that's what you get. I don't know, man. Just doesn't seem fair.
Oh, man. Yeah, that would suck. Like that's the main event. Yeah, guys, I don't think I want to go to the Coliseum Monday night. This is going to suck.
They fucked me over. I'm never going to a show again. Jerry Jarrett comes out after the show goes off the air. All right, guys, now we understand what you just went through, so we're going to invite you all back here next week, come back to another TV taping. Oh, man. So we go on later.
An impassioned plea. Hey, guys, I know that was awful and it wasn't very good, but we hope y'all still come out to the Coliseum Monday night. It's going to be a really, really good show. So hope y'all are there. If you don't mind, please.
I cut up a bunch of chicken salad sandwiches at the front door. Go on and grab y'all one on the way out. Have a nice day. Drive safely. And if you have time, drive over to Nashville. We're at the fairgrounds tonight.
Sedated Jerry Jarrett's going to be a new character. He's going to have to call into the USWA show now.
I like it. Oh, man. May 18th, we continue on into the evening. Like I said, Nashville Fairgrounds, Saturday night. Talk about a card subject to change. Something tells me this lineup didn't happen as advertised. Southern Tag Team titles on the line. The Fabulous Ones taking on the PYTs, accompanied by Tux and Coco. Now, that match probably went down. Also scheduled was Southern Champion Jerry Oski. Remember, Nashville far behind the other cities. Yeah. So Oski looking to drop the title here to Randy Savage in Nashville, I would imagine, Saturday night. Tojo and Jerry Jarrett taking on Billy Travis and the Spoiler. They also announced Mark and Jay Youngblood. We know Mark never arrives here in Memphis, so that didn't happen. Taking on Lanny Poffo and Tommy Gilbert. And also Kareem Muhammad was set to go one-on-one with the newly departed Steve Constance. So had to rearrange some things there. Noticeably absent from this event is one Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah, I was scanning the card there looking for his name and no sign of him.
Well, you know where he is on the 19th. Well, I don't know when it was taped, but it is the 90th episode of the Jerry Lawler Show taking place Sunday morning, May 19th. And right out of the gate, we get a VTR from the King who interviews Jackie Fargo at home on that couch, Gene. So Jackie announces that he's going to be starting a new show called Fargo's Corner on World Championship Wrestling every Saturday morning. Lots of question marks raised here. I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. He says he's going to be interviewing talent, kind of like what Jerry Lawler does on his show. Then they have some technical difficulties to end this segment. So I have no idea what's going on here, what he's promoting, what this Fargo's Corner, what is World Championship Wrestling. Of course, that's what the 605 show was called by that point in time, with Crockett just recently taking over from Vince McMahon and crew. Do you know anything about whatever this Fargo's Corner is, what World Championship Wrestling on Saturday mornings? What was this program?
I ran it back. I was like, wait a minute, that sounded like he said World Championship. Like, what? Fargo's Corner on World Championship Wrestling on Saturday? Like, I don't guess there was ever a single one of those that ever aired. I've never even heard tell of this in the past. So I don't know what the hell this was. If it was something that was set to take place that just never did, or, I mean, nothing about that makes sense. I mean, Jackie Fargo was not really known in that territory by this time that anybody would have cared to see him interview people. Right. You know, people knew his brother Sonny as a referee more than they knew fabulous Jackie Fargo. So I don't know. I want to do some digging into this. Maybe Steve Crawford or somebody has some insight on this, because it completely blindsided me.
You know, I didn't run it back, but as he was talking about it, I just tried to put everything together. None of it made sense. Saturday mornings, World Championship Wrestling, Fargo's Corner. I did some Googling. I couldn't find anything on it anywhere. I have to imagine it never aired anywhere. And even if, let's just assume that he got the name of the company wrong or the name of the program wrong, World Championship Wrestling, even still, I can't find anything on Jackie Fargo doing anything else around this time frame. And where else would he be remotely even big of a name by the mid-1980s than in the Memphis territory? So very peculiar.
Yeah, and then to be promoting it here on Jerry Lawler show, very weird. Hopefully somebody can give us some insight into what that was about, or was going to be about, or
I certainly hope so.
It's very puzzling.
Yeah, I've been sitting on it for a few weeks now, and I'm looking forward to somebody out there making some sense of that. There's a lot of Memphis historians out there. Somebody get a hold of us, let us know what this was or what this was intended to be. It didn't sound like it had anything to do with the CWA with Jarrett Promotions, which made it even more weird that Lawler was promoting it here. But we come back to the studio. Jerry Lawler on the phone with Fernando Lamas, who actually died in 1982. So something tells me this is not Fernando Lamas. For those of you who are unaware of who that was, it was a voice popularized by Billy Crystal on Saturday Night Live. Fernando's Hideaway was the old segments. And that was where Billy would go, "You look marvelous, darling." And he got that from an old actor, I believe, Fernando Lamas, again, already passed away. But it was clearly not somebody calling in. It was clearly some guy talking just off screen. But you have to imagine, knowing Jerry Lawler, he liked the guy's impression someplace where he met him, and he invited him on because 'twas the times, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, Lawler would just do silly shit like that on this show. Like, just like, hey, I figure somebody did that in the dressing room or something. And Lawler's like, hey, that's pretty funny. We'll have you on the show to do that. Just killing time, essentially.
The camera cuts over and it's David Johnson doing the voice.
Oh, I wish that were true.
Oh, that's why we kept you around.
Some ounce of talent shown by David Johnson, because we haven't seen any in a wrestling ring thus far.
Ah, yes, indeed. Well, it wouldn't be a Lawler show if he didn't plug his upcoming match this Monday night. So we go back to the TV program. We get the replay of the VTR, the Bruiser Brody promo, followed by Jerry Lawler. He's going to interview Kareem Muhammad, who is on location in Studio B. Of course, being a heel, Kareem in the other studio, so to speak here, as Kareem says he could do this show better. And Kareem, of course, originally known as Ray Candy in the wrestling business, he takes control of the segment here, talking over Lawler until, Ray gets a few things factually incorrect, and Lawler has to correct him, get some names wrong when he's trying to make a joke about some of the stories going on in the news right now. And, of course, the King doing what he does best, legitimately making fun of him for being incorrect, because, we got to make a fool out of everyone if we can. And Lawler then asking Kareem, so you think you can do a better job? The King then inviting Muhammad over from Studio B to host the Jerry Lawler Show. And that's where we're at right now.
I don't remember anything else about this show. I don't remember the Fargo's Corner business or none of this. But this segment has lived in the back of my mind for years.
Yes.
At one point, I even wondered if I actually, like, did this really happen? Was this a fever dream? Did he really say the things that he said? Turns out he definitely did.
He definitely did, and he gave Dr. D a hell of a run for his money here, guys. We're going to cue it up right now. Kareem Muhammad takes over the Jerry Lawler Show. The King just quietly walks away, leaves the studio, or at least hides behind the camera, and Kareem Muhammad going to interview Tojo Yamamoto and Jerry Jarrett.
Hey, man, you don't tell me to shut up on my own show. Hey, what damage you Look you done to it? Let me tell you one thing. You see this outfit? It reminds me when I used to shoot at chinks like you over in Vietnam, man.
Hey.
You know, that's right. All of you look alike. Shut up, man. This is my show. Hey, all of you look alike. You know, if I ever go in the ring against you, Tojo, I might think about Vietnam, man. All you all look alike.
You don't call me Vietnam. You think I look like Vietnam?
Vietnam,
you
Japanese,
respect me as
whatever,
Tojo Imperial Yamamoto.
Yeah, I might think I'm in the war zone when I'm in the ring with you, man.
Mr. Muhammad, do you really think you're doing a good job?
That's right. The ratings are already going up, man.
Your prejudice and your insults, do you think that gets over with anybody?
Man, I mean, I like your hair. I mean, drugstore blonde. I mean, it's okay.
I appreciate it.
I mean, I figure, you got to be all right. You know, you like beans and things. Maybe I ought to make your day. You know, maybe I ought to take a belt and beat you, you old pervert.
Yeah, well.
Maybe you like them beans, pervert. You into that stuff?
Mr. Muhammad, you think you better shut your mouth because I'll bust your mouth wide open.
Do what you want to.
Son of a gun, you.
Do what you want to. Hey, I'm supposed to give y'all... Wait a minute. Let me give y'all a gift certificate. I'm supposed to give you a gift certificate, but I think I'll keep them myself. Tojo Yamamoto got to be the biggest joke in wrestling. What you wrapping me up for? This is my show. I'm going to talk as long as I want to. I'm supposed to give them these gift certificates. I'm going to go eat on these myself. They don't need them no way. I wouldn't have no geeks like that on my show again.
All right, so that was just a brief segment of the interview Kareem conducted with Jerry Jarrett and Tojo. He says, watch the ratings go up now. And if you don't like it, you guys can leave. You can change the channel. And then Kareem going to laugh at Jerry Jarrett's return to the ring, who he's getting beaten up every night. So Kareem having some fun there with Jerry. As I wrote, LOL, this is train wreck awful in regards to the back and forth between these guys. Then Tojo telling Kareem to shut his mouth. You don't tell me when to shut up on my own show, says Ray Candy. I wrote, LOL. I'm telling you, man, for just ad-libbing and never having to host an actual television program before, Kareem Muhammad was off the charts with his quick comebacks.
Dude, like... up to this point, and I don't know, probably after this point, like, I never knew that Ray Candy was this entertaining of a guy. Like, if he would have just got his own show or they'd let him take over the Lawler Show, you know, for a long period of time, like, this was so, even if it was not even as it was necessarily intended, it was so entertaining, you know, in its own way. Like,
yeah, you definitely have to.
With the Bobby Heenan show for like, this is awful, but yet it's hilarious.
Yeah, but I think moving forward, they would have had to rein in some of his comments. But in general, even the ending is great. You have to go actually watch the footage to appreciate the ending. The microphone, which is pinned to his shirt, pops off. I'm assuming because, you know, he's a big guy. And it pops off and it falls, and he like commentates. He goes, oh, my microphone fell off. It was just the funniest shit. It was like he planned that comedy bit or something, and it was just so good, everything he was doing here. And then right in the middle of that interview, you guys heard it right. We're going to play again just a quick piece of that one more time.
See this outfit? It reminds me when I used to shoot at chinks like you over in Vietnam, man.
Oh my goodness, great! I don't even know where to start with that one, man. I've heard some things, but man, wow.
I mean, only Ray Candy could have got away with that. Like, I mean, even like guys like Lawler and stuff like that, certainly even in 85, I don't think you could have got away with that. But
no, that
Kareem Muhammad, folks.
And that was just a little piece of it. I mean, there was a lot more there if you guys go back and listen to the entire segment or go back and watch it yourselves. Of course, Kareem using some slurs and talking about flashbacks of Nam wanting to pull out a gun, even threatening that, you know, I hope I don't step in the ring with you, Tojo, because I might have flashbacks of Nam and I want to kill you. You know, and we heard the words he was using there, so I won't repeat them, guys, but they were there for your, I don't want to say entertainment, but for proof that this happened.
Listening to this, I can only imagine it like Troy Graham managed to stand up out of his wheelchair and applaud this if he saw this back in the day.
Why wouldn't they let me say that, boy? Oh, that was my Dr. D. I'm sorry, wrong voice.
Oh yeah, that was what it reminded me of, was some of the things that Troy Graham said about Steve Keirn's dad, but yet somehow worse.
Yeah, man, it's imagine having any two of these guys in the territory at the same time cutting promos. We only have room for one at a time. Troy Graham to Dr. D to Kareem Muhammad, and can't wait to see who's next as we continue on later. That was the end of the Lawler Show, by the way, and rightfully so. You can't really top that segment, right? It's like once we get into the verbal scrimmage there and everybody's going off on one another and it's like a panic and, you know, you hear the music playing you out and everybody's arguing. It's like a television program, like an actual skit is what it came down to. I know it wasn't planned, but Jerry Lawler comes back out. I think he's like, all right, let's just get the fuck out of here.
It's not live, so I mean that didn't have to air.
No,
so
it didn't.
I'm guessing there had to be debates behind the scenes, like, Jesus, do we air that? And like, oh yeah, it's great. That'll be great heat, brother. You know, and then probably Jeff's like, Jerry's probably like, I don't know, guys, that got a little out of hand. Lawler's probably like, screw it. He's a heel. He can get away with it.
Lawler was asking the studio, is there going to be an episode 91? That's the question right now. So. Well, later that evening, that afternoon, immediately after the Lawler Show, Lawler's Army played a doubleheader softball game, 1:30 p.m. against the Wrestling All-Stars, consisting of Steve Keirn, the Batten twins, Jerry Oski, and Tojo Yamamoto. Two takeaways here. One, Stan Lane apparently can't be pulled out to play a game of softball. Two, Tojo Yamamoto out there running the bases. I don't know about that.
I was about to say Tojo and softball all-stars in one sentence. My goodness. And we know if the Battens were on that team, then we know which team did the job.
Yep, and that's why Lawler's Army is number one and Batten's All-Stars is not. Also, after that game, it sounds like a throwaway fun game they had there. I wonder who was promoting the Wrestling All-Stars team. We also see the Lawler Army against the Nike All-Stars, and we don't have results, unfortunately, so we'll have to wait to see if the King's going to give us another ranking system here in the upcoming weeks on the Lawler Show. But we do have a show taking place on the 19th as well in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. 7 p.m. is the bell time. Lawler goes from supposedly hosting a show, but he goes on to 2 back-to-back softball games and then goes out to wrestle in Cape Girardeau on top of all of that. Also on the card was Tojo Yamamoto and reportedly Constance and Ashley, but those guys already gone.
Well, you really got to admire the dedication of the King there. Busy day for him.
Busy indeed. Lots going on for the King, and most of it was just for fun. He only got paid to wrestle, but that's okay. He paid himself triple, I'm sure. So we continue on to Monday night, May the 20th, Mid-South Coliseum in front of only 5,000 fans, and it's going to see in the opener Tommy Gilbert over Speedy Talltree. Now, it was supposed to be Mark and Jay Youngblood teaming up. Mark, no show here in Memphis, so it was announced Johnny Wilhoit would be taking his place, but Wilhoit also a no-show. So finally, it's David Has. Nobody wants to team with fucking Jay Youngblood, who can't find a job right now. And sadly, in just a few weeks, months' time, Jay won't even be with us anymore here on this earth here in 1985 due to demons, I guess you could say. But here in Memphis at the Mid-South Coliseum, it's Jay Youngblood and Haskins over J.R. Hogg and Lanny Poffo. Jay scoring the win over J.R. Hogg there. Southern Tag Team Champions, the Fabs, defeat Kareem Muhammad and the mystery partner.
I wish I would have blurted out who I thought it was before your notes popped up on the screen, because now it just looks like but I realized that's who that was before we got down to this.
I didn't think he was that big by this point. Like, I would have never guessed. That's why I was going to ask you, was that him on TV? Because it says here on my notes, and I'm sure, Gene, you knew this, that it was Don Bass in The Mask, who we've seen Don Bass come through here many a times under the hood. Steve Keirn going to pin the masked mystery man, who still doesn't have a name even here at the Mid-South Coliseum, by the way. So the Fab's going to retain, but so Don Bass was the same guy that was in the arena, was the same guy that was at the studio then.
Yeah, Don Bass. And if you go back and look at towards the end of the interns run there, you could always spot him because he was substantially heavier than Roger Smith. But yeah, he got really heavy here in 85. Slimming back down a bit, but yeah, this era here is like the biggest Don Bass ever was. So,
Okay.
yeah. I had realized it watching it the second time, and then, I don't know, I just blanked out on it when we were talking earlier, and then I thought, oh, shit, I remember it was Don Bass, but I didn't want to just blurt it out in the middle of the show, but then when your notes go, I was like, shit, now it looks like I just read it off the damn screen.
No, I mean, I honestly, it fooled me. I just didn't realize he was that big, and I guess I didn't pay attention when he was doing the interns thing. I guess I was too busy watching Roger Smith do slingshot splashes, and I wasn't really paying attention to Don Bass out there, but it is what it is. Southern champion Randy Savage giving Jerry Oski the rematch, championship-like material there. Randy Savage going to retain with a pinfall, I would assume is a pinfall, over Oski. Tojo and Jerry Jarrett defeating the PYT Express, so no revenge this week for Norvell, Coco, Billy Travis. Tux can't be happy with what's going on right now with his team, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out next week on TV as we head off to the main event. Remember what Jerry Lawler said, no referee in the ring, no disqualification, anything goes, said the King on television. Well, it is Jerry Lawler defeating Bruiser Brody, and indeed a no referee in the ring, Matt, referee on the floor, guys. No disqualification? Well, guess what? Lawler over Brody ends in a disqualification. And I wrote, no wonder Mike Sharp was so fucking confused.
Oh, okay.
Very, very Memphis-y. That's the best use of that word we can use on this week's episode. The most Memphis-y finish you can imagine.
The booker, the matchmaker, promised us no more disqualifications. Of course, we've seen multiple since then, so we'll throw that out the window. But Jerry Lawler promising us on Saturday morning TV, no disqualification, anything goes match, ends in a disqualification. And you didn't see that in any other territory. And certainly not as often.
I don't know how you point blank say there will be no disqualifications, and then you end the match in a freaking disqualification. But like I said, that's just the kind of shit you see in Memphis, and I guess the fans were more forget. Which I don't know. You pointed out only 5,000 people there to see it, but see, for me, you say that, and I'm like, what? Because freaking 1993. We're barely drawing 1,000 people with WWF guys on the card. 5,000 people would have been this absolute cause for celebration. And back in 85, I'm sure they were keeping all the sharp objects away from Jerry Jarrett's wrist when they had 5,000 people. But this kind of shit has to affect that, right? I got to think that's certainly.
I wonder how many times they have in their minds what they want the Monday night card, the outcome to be. And then they get there and then they change the booking. And thus it's like, oh, well, fuck it. I know we promised this, but this isn't in our booking plans anymore because, look at the match, too. Lawler and Brody. Does somebody just go, I'm not losing? Well, I'm not losing either. And then we wind up with the DQ.
Yeah, I feel like Lawler probably said that on TV, and then they get there Monday night, and Lawler's like, well, we promised there ain't going to be a disqualification. And Brody's like, well, that don't work for me, brother. You planning on losing? And Lawler's like, nope. And I'm like, well, you're not pinning me, so what you going to do? And we get a disqualification.
Yeah, confusing as ever here. Ugh. And I think Brody's sticking around, though, so we'll see what they do with the follow-up as we continue on. Tuesday night, Louisville Gardens, May the 21st. Speedy Talltree again subbing for Johnny Wilhoit. Speedy getting a DQ victory over Billy Travis in the opener. Really? We needed a DQ victory? We couldn't just put Travis over. Can't put you over my son. Tom Ernesto, of course, Speedy Talltree, one of his boys. Jay Youngblood then going to team with Talltree, who subbing for Mark Youngblood here. So with Youngblood and Talltree over Lanny Poffo and J.R. Hogg, PYTs defeat Tojo and Jerry Jarrett. Southern champion Randy Savage again over Jerry Oski, and a double disqualification between Jerry Lawler and Bruiser Brody working the Louisville Gardens.
Well, that's interesting. Of course, we're not going to get a freaking finish, but we got to see Brody.
Yeah, it's kind of peculiar. Some of these guys, like a Nick Bockwinkel, they sometimes pop up on those Tuesday night cards. Not often, but they do. And so Brody going to stick around. He must have had nothing else planned that evening. So what the hell, why not? Apparently, whatever the issue was in the Mid-South Coliseum didn't affect their business because Brody's back the following night here. Double disqualification with the King. And then we've got a couple more shows this week, including Thursday night, May the 23rd, Forest City, Arkansas, the Civic Center. Featured 8-man tag team match going to headline Randy Savage, Jerry Oski, the Batten Twins, Lanny Poffo, Tommy Gilbert, and more on the card there in Forest City. And that brings us to Friday night in Waverly, May the 24th, Central High School. On the card, Billy Travis against David Haskins, Mark Batten taking on Tommy Gilbert, Brad Batten going one-on-one with Jerry Bryant, Jerry Lawler going to go in the ring against Kareem Muhammad. And also on the card, a strap match. All 4 men going to be carrying a strap around their wrist, maybe in their hand. The PYT is going to take on the Fabs, and right now we go off to Randy Hales conducting interviews with both sides.
But I'm real excited about championship wrestling. We will be in Waverly, Tennessee at the high school on Friday, May the 24th. Tickets on sale at Humphreys Farmer Co-op. You save $1 on advance tickets. Tickets also on sale at Union Bank, at Midland Bank, and Trust. Championship wrestling with Billy Travis against David Haskins, Jerry Bryant, and Brad Batten. You will see Mark Batten against Tommy Gilbert, the King, Jerry Lawler against Mr. Kareem Muhammad, and the Fabulous Ones against PYT Express, all in Waverly the 24th.
It's pretty hard you say pretty young thing.
Pretty young thing.
There you go. Listen to Mr. Tux.
You know why it's hard? You know why it's hard? Because you're prejudiced against the pretty young thing. That's why it's hard. You know who's not prejudiced? That's me, Tux Newman. You know, Fabs, I like you very much. I really do. I think you're very swell young boys. I think you got a lot going for you, but not here. No, not anywhere in the South. You know, maybe in New York or in Africa or someplace like that. Maybe that's where you got it going for you. And I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to ship you there. And we're going to give it to you free. You're going to take a ride on a plane in a coffin. You're going to go out there in style. Because we don't need you here. We're going to finish you once and for all. The pretty young things. I'm talking about Kale right here. I'm talking about Billy Travis and Norvell Austin.
We're just like Coca-Cola, baby. We're known all over the world. The pretty young things coming to Waverly.
Tennessee. You know, you cause us nothing but problems. Nothing. And Waverly, Tennessee, you are going to see the end of the Fabs, I promise.
That's right.
But we're really excited about championship wrestling, the first time in Waverly, Tennessee at the high school on Friday, May the 24th. Listen to this card. It's sensational. David Haskins against Billy Travis, Brad Batten against Jerry Bryant, Tommy Gilbert against Mark Batten, the King, Jerry Lawler against Mr. Kareem Muhammad, and the Fabulous Ones against the PYT Express. A reminder, save $1 on advance tickets, and you can get them at the Humphreys Farmer Co-op and also at the Union Bank and the Midland Bank and Trust. Here are Stan and Steve.
You know, Stan and Steve are quite excited. You know why? For one reason, we're going to be in the big high school gym right there in the Waverly. Air conditioned. Air conditioned. Let me tell you something. Ice cold air. And the other reason we're excited is this, because it's going to be whipping time, whipping city, right there in Waverly. You know, we've heard a lot of talk here lately. Heard about the PYT and Billy Travis going in all the discos in Memphis, Tennessee, and all around the Mid-South. And they've been carrying these big belts. They've been telling all the pretty ladies in there, they've been whipping the Fabs all over TV. Well, guys, let me tell you something. Right there in the Waverly, it's going to be payback time. Right there in that big high school gymnasium. Everybody's going to see what's going to happen to you. We're going to take some hide off of you, boy. Right? All I got to say is I hope Tux Newman has been listening to our interview. I hope that he gets all fired up. I hope he gets the PYT cranked up for our debut in Waverly. This is going to be our first time in there. And we're not coming there to get beat. We're coming in there to lash somebody. We're going to start the match with 2 belts in our hand, maybe 3, maybe 4. And we're going to chase them from one end of that brand new high school air-conditioned gymnasium to the other. And by the time those men are done, they're going to know what the Fabs are, and they're going to love Waverly.
All right, so Randy Hill's having some speech problems there, Gene. He can't pronounce the word pretty young things. And Tux Newman giving it to him. He said, you know why you can't pronounce that, Randy? Because you're prejudiced. If you weren't prejudiced, you could say their names. But you don't think they're pretty and young because they're black.
Well, I can't pronounce prejudice either, Tuck, so go peroxide your hair or something, son of a bitch.
Meanwhile, on the other side, I had to pop for this. They were just having some fun. Stan Lane excited to come to the high school gym, he says here in Waverly, as Steve Kern butts in and says, air-conditioned gym. Stan Lane says, that's right, nice cold air. So what a sell job here. Come on down, guys. And how about that? Waverly, of all fucking places in 1985, going to get air conditioning in the high school. How about that?
Hell yeah, they're going to put it over. I don't blame them. You know, that is a selling point in Tennessee and, May. And so go for it.
Yeah, I love the old ads. They go back a little further than that. You see a lot of them. If they have air conditioning in their arenas, they'll pop it into they'll put that on the head thing before they'll put the main event, the names of the people competing in the matches. If you're going to try to draw fans in the summer. And the Fabs know what they're doing out here, making sure to put it over. Nice air conditioned, nice cold air, said Stan Lane. So, yeah, Tux Newman had a little fun with Randy Hales there. And PYT.
There might be 5 DQs, but there's air conditioning. So come.
See, you're not prejudiced against air conditioning, Randy. Pronounce that just fine.
I am not.
Well,
Jerry practiced with me for 2 hours, so I could say air conditioning.
Well, we are happy to hear Randy Hales. Parody, guys. I think you have to say that nowadays or something. But anyway, that's going to wrap up another week in the Memphis territory. Kind of, a little eventful, thanks to Ray Candy taking over the Jerry Lawler show anyway. The TV
Memorable
show.
for that, anyway.
Yeah, not so much on the TV with Lanny Poffo and Jerry Oski eating up about a fucking third of the show, it felt like. But you'll have that from time to time. At least it happened, and it can't be very much longer before both guys are gone from the company. So we'll have to find new guys to shit on.
I don't think that match was the one that anybody sent in that got them their WWF jobs. I'm just speculating there, but I can't imagine Vince was like, God damn, pal, we got to have those guys.
Well, we know what got Lanny Poffo his WWF job anyway. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So anyway.
It's part of the deal, brother.
Nice, quick, easy week this time around here on Regional Rasslin with the week of TV. Only about 7 pages of notes, my smallest amount of pages ever, maybe, I do believe. But that leaves us time here, Gene. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things you've got going on. One particular thing is recently, a lot of people have been talking about the dark side of the ring. Of course, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert had his turn there, and they think they did him well compared to what they do with some of those guys anyway. But that's not what I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to talk to you about the man himself. Recently, I believe it's already out now. It wasn't supposed to be out, but it was out before it was supposed to be, and now I think it's supposed to be out. So I'm referring to your book. You worked with Doug Gilbert on putting together a book about the life and times of Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Yeah, man, we did. It was a project that I started over 15 years ago, and it ended up getting shelved for a variety of reasons, and then I started doing this podcast, a year or so ago with Doug, and we kind of kicked the idea around then, and then a publisher approached Doug about doing a book, and we decided, hey, now's as good a time as any to do this book on Eddie, and so we co-authored that together. And man, there's for anybody who is a fan of Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, there's a lot of great stories in there that only Doug knows to tell. So we got those in there, and it's things, like I said, that nobody else knows. And the great thing about the fact that I did start it years ago, and then we come back and finish it now, is I spent a lot of time interviewing Tommy Gilbert and Peggy Gilbert, his parents, and so we've got a lot of quotes and insight from them in there, and I'm really proud of it. Doug's really proud of it. We had it in Philadelphia recently at that TWA event up there, and sold out of all the books that we had up there. A lot of interest. A lot of the wrestlers are wanting to read it, and was coming up and talking to Doug about it and telling stories about their experiences with Eddie over the years. So really excited to be a part of that project, and it's now leading to other book projects that I've got going on. So it's got all the podcast stuff going on, and now we're getting into wrestling books. So busier than ever, man.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like it. You got so much going on over there. I know you do some interviews from time to time on your YouTube. I know you got some other books, like you said, in the works now, and I don't know if you want to leak any of that, so I won't do it for you. I'll let you decide on that. But I will say this.
I can say one. For a fact, we have made a deal to do Tommy Rich's book. So me and Tommy are getting started on a book about his career, and we'll leave the rest a mystery for now. But I'm really excited, man. From all the Georgia, you and Jamie Ward have covered just tons of great history to talk to Tommy about for Georgia, for Memphis. He had a long career and wrestled. I didn't realize until I started doing the podcast with him and started looking into his history. My God, Tommy's wrestled everybody. People I had no idea he worked with, guys like the Sheik and different people. So really excited, man, to get to pick his brain and talk to him for this book. And I think people are going to be really excited about it, man. There's a lot of people who big fans of Tommy growing up. They remember those Georgia Championship Wrestling days and the early days of cable. And I got to, going around Philadelphia with Tommy, and, you expect it at the, at the event, the wrestling convention. But I mean, we'd be in the stores or we're out getting a cheesesteak, and you'd see people go, "Oh my God, Tommy Rich," and run up just so excited and start telling stories. I remember he's wrestled Buzzsaw, you're in the cage, and I remember you feuded with, this person and that person. So I think it's going to be a good seller, and I think people are going to be interested to hear Tommy's story.
Yeah, that's cool. You talk about how over Tommy was. I think back to many moons ago, probably about 2000, I'd say. And, I've told my story in the past about my day and night with Tommy Rich. But at the end of that night, I don't know if I told that part of the story, was after, I left Tommy at the arena and I went back and met with my girlfriend, and we go over her aunt's house to hang out for the evening that night. I'm just in there, and I said, well, I drove around a wrestler today. Oh, who? And I said, oh, you won't know. She was not a wrestling fan. So I said, you won't know him. Well, who? And I said, oh, his name's Tommy Rich. And you would have thought it was the Beatles. She screamed, Tommy Rich! I said, what the fuck of course, we were in Ohio. We're in the Cleveland area. And she remembered Tommy Rich from the Georgia Championship Wrestling days. And I really didn't think, I said, well, you're not a wrestling fan now, so you probably weren't 20 years ago. But apparently she was. And it was like the greatest thing. You would have told her that, I know that this is out of the time frame now, and that this isn't cool anymore, but it'd be like saying, well, I was driving around with Hulk Hogan all day or something like that back then.
Yeah.
And so it was funny to, that era, but that's going to be pretty cool. But, go back to Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. I was a fan growing up. Anywhere he popped up, because Eddie was one of those guys. So, or he was randomly in Global. Awesome. He was randomly in Smoky Mountain. Awesome. So anytime I got some with Eddie Gilbert on it, it's always a fun time. And, you talked to me about that book a little bit before it was a book, before you were talking with Doug.
Yeah.
How you had, put together a lot of interviews and things of that nature with his parents and whatnot years ago. And so you had a lot of that, saved up that we couldn't have anymore, if you hadn't have done that. So it's great that you were able to get that done and put that into the book. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find the book?
You can find the book. You can find it. It's at Amazon.com, BooksAMillion.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Most reputable booksellers, have them available, but you can also, the place you can get it where the shipping's included, so it's the least expensive place to find it, is tinyurl.com/Eddie Gilbert book. That's straight from the publisher themselves, so there's no add-ons for shipping or anything like that. It's just, $24.99. But if you're more comfortable with Amazon, you got Amazon Prime or something like that, Books A Million, it's available in all those places. So, I hope everybody checks it out and hope they enjoy it. And I look forward to hearing people's feedback on it.
Yes. Look Gene up on the social media. Leave him some feedback. Let him know you ordered the book. Let him know. Show him a picture. Post a picture of the book when it arrives. Let him know what you think about it. Certain chapters, certain stories. Maybe they can elaborate more on the podcast they're going to be doing here with Tommy Rich and Doug Gilbert. That continues on outside of WrestleCopia now. Yeah, it's another fun week here on Regional Rasslin. We covered a lot of ground with Memphis 85. We're moving into June here pretty soon, and I really don't know what's coming other than I know Kareem Muhammad's going to stick around for a little bit. I think Brody's still here for a little bit. We've got so many interesting talents still to come here in 1985. There's literally dozens of guys that we haven't even run into yet that are going to be making appearances in the second half of the year.
That's the fun thing about Memphis, man, is you never know who's going to pop up, and they may pop up 4 months, they may pop up for 4 weeks or one match.
4 minutes.
But 4 minutes. It's just a real mixed bag, but it makes for some fun, interesting times and different things to watch. And over on our USWA Retro Wrestling Review, we're wrapping up 1993 pretty soon. We're in November now, and we've talked about it in the past. We're going to be going, and we wrap up 93. We're actually going to circle back, and we're going to cover 1991, which was an interesting year in Memphis as well. And I'm pretty excited about that because, like I said, there's people. I get people message me all the time about either this show or the USWA one, and go, "I didn't realize that person was in Memphis," or "I didn't realize they were in at this time period. I had no idea." So it's a fun territory to cover. You can pick any random year, and it's always interesting. It's always something new and exciting, and even when it's bad, it's still fun. That's the important part.
Yeah, you got to keep it fun. And if there's any territory that even when it's bad, it's still fun, it's got to be Memphis. Because I've seen some other ones where I'm like, oh, and I'm dreading it. And there's the lulls and down periods. Even in Memphis, we've already seen them here in 85. And I'm sure you've experienced a couple throughout the 93 year. But at the end of the day, you talked about drawing 5,000 in 1980s, drawing however many they're drawing there in 93. I go back with Steve Crawford recovering 1977. Lawler and Dundee, the brand new main eventer, Bill Dundee, are drawing 11,000 at the Coliseum. So we've seen the decline, but there's still, that fan base is still there to the point where Memphis wrestling lasted longer than almost any other territory, because even when it was bad, it was still good.
And it's so crazy. If you're doing review shows, like you and Steve can go back to 77 and talk about Lawler and Dundee. You can 85, there's Lawler and Dundee. You can jump up into the 90s, USWA, all the way to 97 to the end of USWA. There's Lawler and Dundee. You can go up into the Power Pro days in 2000 and 2001. There's Lawler and Dundee. The Memphis Championship Wrestling days. The Corey Macklin's Memphis Wrestling days in the mid to late 2000s, 10s, and there's Lawler and Dundee. So, boy, did they put some time in there in Memphis.
Yeah, they certainly did. And, we'll see Bill back here before the end of 85 for sure. So, looking forward to that, seeing the superstar come through the Memphis territory. We've got the king. We just need the superstar back here again, and he will be. So just stay tuned for that, guys. Lots more coming here in Regional Rasslin 85. Lots more coming on all the projects we have going on. Gene, of course, moving over to 1991, heading into the home stretch of 1993. I know that feeling when I do a project and I'm almost there. It's kind of like, well, that was fun, but it's not. I can't wait to move on. But at the same time, it's like, wow, I can't believe we've made it. And you are exactly, as we record this, 52 episodes into the show, which means you've been part of WrestleCopia for a full year now. So, we got to throw you a little party for that.
Yeah, man, that's exciting, and definitely happy to be a part of it. And I know you can probably attest, when you're in that home stretch and you almost start to look past what you're doing, there's always going to be a couple surprises in there that's going to hit you and you go, oh, shit, I forgot that happened before the year ended. So I'm looking forward to seeing what surprises us before we wrap up 93 that we forgot happened in 93. So
and that
should be fun.
Fabulous. I'm glad to hear that is the key word there, I believe, in 93 or so, I've been told anyway. And just a final reminder, guys, before we wrap it up, patreon.com/WrestleCopia. We've got so many video casts coming out of our ears, coming out of our eyes, coming out of our assholes at this point, it feels like. I mean, just video casts everywhere. On the VIP Superfan tier, we've got the Monday Warfare show. We've got the Pro Wrestling Academy with Dan. We've got our Coliseum video cast. Always a fun time doing that. Go check out most recent ones, Best of the WWF Volume 10, Hulkamania 2. Moving up now to the Ultimate tier. Lots of people interested in that Ultimate tier now that we have announced Regional Rasslin Unreeled. If you like this here, Regional Rasslin, if you can't get enough of your territory fix here with the audio podcast, free of charge, we now offer a little more, or a lot more, over there at Patreon. If you check out the Ultimate tier, we're going to be going and doing a video series on wrestling territory action. Much like this, Gene, we're going to go back and kind of dissect portions of different territories and different eras, and we'll be doing that with various guests like we do here on the podcast, only in video form. Yes, you'll be able to see some of the stuff we're talking about as we're discussing it. And, of course, let's not forget the big ones. Also part of the Ultimate tier, we go back and cover a lot of old school pay-per-views, big events, and, of course, indeed, the pay-per-views that coincide with the Monday Night War. So it's very timely to check out both the Monday Warfare show and, again, Fall Brawl 95 getting ready to drop, and In Your House 3 right around the corner there as part of the Ultimate tier at Patreon.
Man, if you aren't taking advantage of all these video casts, I don't know what you're doing, because it's great to listen to these. And I know a lot of people listen to podcasts driving to work, driving home from work, while they're at work. And audio podcasts are great. They certainly have a purpose, and I'm appreciative of everybody that listens. But man, to be able to sit down and watch things while you're hearing it and experience the whole experience together of seeing it and talking about it, it's just a whole nother dynamic, man. And I'm really excited about all the great video casts you've got going on right now, and especially the regional, era, being able to watch those and talk about them. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to hopefully being a guest from time to time on there. And there's been a lot of things that we've talked about here that I thought, man, wouldn't it have been cool if we could have, talked about this in real time as folks were watching it with us. So great concept. And I can't put over enough how much, work that Ray puts into creating all these different video casts and podcasts that cover all the bases. And if you're a wrestling fan, there is at least one thing on WrestleCopia you're going to dig. More than likely, there's going to be a bunch. But he makes sure that there's something for everybody. Nobody's left out. Nobody's over here going, well, no, they don't cover this thing that I love. Yeah, he does. And if he doesn't yet, he's going to. It's on the agenda. Just hang out and enjoy everything else that's going on. He'll get to what you've been waiting on at some point, I promise you.
Yeah, just waiting for the right people to do it with. And again, don't forget the Lucha Cast, the World of Sports stuff that we have planned. In due time, guys, good things come to those who wait. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. Going to make sure the footage is there. Going to make sure that we are well prepared, researched, and ready to go. And a lot of people are wondering, what happened to the Pro Wrestling Academy podcast? Well, it didn't go anywhere. It's still there. Gene, you know this. We stopped at the end of 1963. Ricky Dozon's about to be murdered. And basically, Dan went and said, there's not a whole lot on 64 through whatever year it was. And I said, well, that's okay. We'll cover it the best we can. And Dan wouldn't settle for that. He went to Japanese eBay, whatever it's called, and purchased every magazine that existed, the entire lot, from 64 to maybe 72. I believe he has everything beyond that already. And there was just like this dark era where people don't have results and people don't have information. And Dan went and bought it all. Got all the bids, won all the auctions, and paid for all that ridiculous shipping from Japan. And right now what he's doing is he's scanning every magazine, running it through translation, Google Translate or whatever it is online, so that he can read everything and write it all down, or at least send copies to me as well in English form so we can kind of gather some notes. So that's what's holding everything up, but it's well worth the wait.
Yeah, calling that show an academy, it's not a gimmick. It's not just a cute name. It is 100% accurate. And I've talked about this before on different shows. And you just mentioned you wait till you find the right people. Well, there's nobody better to do an English version, an American version of Japanese wrestling podcast than Dan. He has studied this. And the things he don't have, just like you just said, if he doesn't have it, he'll go get it. And he is serious about this. You call him the professor, and this is the Pro Wrestling Academy. Well, that's what this is. And he is making sure that he has everything at you guys' disposal, Ray, to be able to not only, entertain these fans, but teach these fans about Japanese wrestling. And I'm enjoying every minute of it. I've learned so much. And, hey, if it means we got to wait a little bit for the next few episodes to know that's why, hey, there's plenty. You guys are doing tons of great video casts in the meantime. There's plenty of Japanese wrestling to enjoy with you guys in the meantime on the video cast until he gets all these magazines scanned and gets all these results together. And nobody's more thorough than the two of you.
Yeah, that's a good point you made too in regards to the video cast. While we've been laying dormant for the time being on the audio podcast, we put up I think at least 18, and we're doing our 19th video cast here. We're recording this week, so that should be out probably before you even hear this, if we record like we're planning to. So, we've been covering a lot of All Japan from the 1970s, looking into the early Jumbo Shiruda, Giant Baba when he could still go, and a lot of the NWA World Champions coming to town. Billy Robinson has just arrived, so there's lots to get into there, lots to go back and watch and discuss. So you guys can always go check that out as well if you're interested. Technically, the Pro Wrestling Academy never ended. It just moved over to video format for now. We will return back to the podcast side as well. But for right now, guys, we're going to wrap up Regional Rasslin. I want to thank everybody for listening once again. I encourage everybody to stop on over to WrestleCopia.com. Check out all of the other great podcasts we have going on there. And, of course, Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. And again, Gene, remind everybody where they can find and what is the name of that book featuring Eddie Gilbert.
Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, the uncrowned king of professional wrestling. And you can find it at tinyurl.com/Eddie Gilbert book.
All right, guys, you heard Gene. One last reminder, go pick that book up now. It's flying off the shelves, and I'm not just saying that. Literally, you heard them. They sold out. They had a ton of books there at the convention, and every one of them sold, guys, and they're selling like hotcakes from what I understand. So, Gene, congratulations to you. When you purchase that mansion, make sure you invite me over for the housewarming deal. But for right now, guys, we're going to wrap things up here. We'll be back soon. More Regional Rasslin right around the corner.